Grandiose Riddle. Unlock the sphere and peer into the mind's eye. Ambiguity in the form of a shadow cast roams freely about the confines. Archaic patterns of genetic material twirl double helixes in higgledy-piggledy fashion as the ballad of eternity carries on. A night breeze lilts over the sea, liquidity and darkened abyss, potency puzzling 9 versions of me lurking in the frozen mists. Cast a shadow on the tombstone of dust, loom heavily now and cover it with dirt. Conscience neath the shovel load lurks. Conscience wedded with obsolescence in this time of postmodern post-everything. Uncertainty rains its copious protein down from black sky to barren earth, caking the thoroughly raped womb, encrusting her ovum in blossomous birth, germinating the last full bloom. Forestall the end for as long as you can, for dreams will soon usurp the universe. Mere mortals can't hope to quench such thirst. Mad scribes put pen to paper and burn, damned by their fervor to write out the truth, spewing jabberwocky unto their scrolls, unwittingly complicit to the aims of their foe. Discouraged at conception's dissonance, reading back a never-never sea of salt, with mouths caked in dehydration's inadequacy. Wind blows hollow through branches now emptied. The violence of dragon's breath ashes all standing. Objections cast on torrents demanding. Tears melt cheek and ground alike, dooming the bereaved in an acid lake, seared by the immediacy of nothing left to lose. Begs one give sway to delusion, images doubling in S-shaped bent, with concept following suit. Perception adjusts and normality resumes. The visitor sees as the inhabitant, the recollection of something amiss, swept under the rug by hands adamant, mangled to death by their cast-iron kiss. The ending and beginning interchangeably change, and souls line single file, but slivers of shadow upon a sundial. Homo sapiens in their limitless arrogance, one world spinning through a vast sea of stars. How could humans hope to compare even their universe's lifespan to infinity's scars? And those are but specks to the complex nightmare, or the folly of such oxymoronic simile. The human mind cannot comprehend forever. Madness accompanies such endeavor. Tectonic plates quiver and shake. Ambiguity on continental scale. The sphere unlocked becomes unhinged, birthing lava and shrapnel unto the universe. Farewell, moon, you are no longer needed. No tides to pull, no lycanthropes to transmute. As God shifts his gaze to another corner of the universe, the first full bloom on a different sphere, destined to die, mortality gleaned from the presence of life, do not fear. Existence shan't perpetuate. All things being equal, infinity is not infinite, if indeed all things are equal in existence. The clock winds down, eyes ablur, the shadows cast, throttling the lifeless corpse, holding its breath and incanting repeatedly,
"Greatness comes not to those who show mercy."
This treatise of forever, translated for human comprehension thus, which is a contradiction in terms to those who are clever. If indeed ignorance is bliss, then let the stars unknowingly crash into each other, because fate is one bad motherfucker. The clock winds down, eyes ablur, the shadows cast. The unknown takes its prize at last, swallows the wondrous world so vast, leaving not a crumb of her past. 10-3, the Holy Trinity is complete. Decimating the darkness in its path, having bastards of unworldly progeny, shimmering against the black expanse. The light fades away, its job complete. Then enter the nefarious right on cue. Unsuspecting faith and goodwill are stabbed in the back, terraforming with our copious seed, germinating our ignorance on other spheres. Ignorance is bliss. Imagine our generosity, as all bliss is doomed to end in tears. To make an everlasting happiness, mortals would all have to die. So what prevents us from digging a plot to lie? Dread of the undiscovered country. Feminine rhyme hovers overhead like a death cloud, snaking down, severing the windpipe of lyric. No savior to cease the wholesale homicide. No aegis of virtue to stop the death. The green spectre of fate, Polaris the poisoner, wreaks havoc on those who draw breath. Cease production of the fledgling new species. They sought to copy man, such is unforgivable, yet the circle still turns forever miserable. Soft as a whisper, the caress comes on the wind. The lady merely has to breathe, spreading the unpollination of her venomous seed. Return to the primordial pool from whence you were spawned. You are a blight unto the face of reality, as she plucks every asheen from the usurping ruderil. The priest cries out in rapture, 3.5 doubled! Perfume airs waft down from the belfry, the sweet smell of sex and Queen Anne's lace. Numbers of dun padre no good at all, face down breathless before the altar, in eternal awe of Lady Fate. Leaving behind his malformed fleshy glove, a thoroughly broken body to symbolize sanity. The lynching of sentiment as the age swings back to words, hard and cold as the coroner's table. 3.5 doubled again, now wait a third. Or create it yourself if at all able. The call to mass is made over the remnants of massacre. If no one is left to heed the call to prayer, was the utterance of issue ever really there? Feet and eyes crossed in agony, tongue bitten through, now sanguinely immersed. In a vain attempt to dissuade her kiss, you haven't bought yourself any time. A voice counts backwards 33 from 40. A gasp in the darkness proves your last to be. Cracking and shrieking, the vocal cords convulse under the rape of fingers. Squeezing brings pain, as apparitions materialize to scream in the refrain.
The clock winds down, eyes a blur, the shadows cast. Fate makes no apologies for being crass. What are you to make demands of the vast? You are all nothing in contrast.
3.5 doubled thrice makes Trinity squared. Dreams usurp all that is known, and no one notices the difference. A republic of figureheads representing no one, just put into place for the illusion of control. And you are indeed dreaming if ye harbor hope. Pandora's box was ended by a lie, made tinder by the flame of ignorance. Inhale the potency of addicting fumes. Let it calm your nerves and alleviate. Look to the angel now hobbled with womb, soon to make your lungs victim to rape. The cloud of emerald death permeates the vessel. The body convulses at the final inhale, as she replaces complacency's veil. A tourniquet wraps around frailty's head, binding it to the world as a shackle. Lucidity is swallowed whole and dissolved in the belly. Rubik's is barred from the domain of acid pills. No one shall mention the heretic's name hence. An anastrophe lands upon the windowsill in the form of a falcon flying whence. There but for the grace of God goes I, and thus his creation as I perceive ceases to exist as my senses take leave. A tree makes no sound if it falls alone in the woods. Who would believe it? Reality is consensual. We would not have something transpire had we not been around to witness it. Humanity created all of this, even God. We let the Almighty exist out of the goodness of our hearts. All of this discussion of the end. Utter fallacies by minority spoke. Those unfortunate who love to pretend would rather see it all burn than use their vote. Life is truly what you make of it. So make exactly what we tell you to, or we'll collectively consent to forget about you. Oxygen deprivation brings euphoria at a point. The dying man, power-mad, fondled his erection. Eyes unseeing, suddenly focused on a ravishing beauty with green hair. She beckoned with caress and eager vulva. The first thrust, the last, of course. She casts the corpse from atop her sex, disgustedly sighs into the particled air. No one touches death and lives. She brushes the memory from her pubic hair. The rush wanes from being so permissive. Lonely and naked, she begins to re-robe, looses a lament of longing and boredom, and departs from this meaningless post-mortem. It's quite a wonder God doesn't correct this continued misappropriation of matter. If death and rest are synonym, the bed we've lain must be a sight for sore eyes. A cataclysm come true for the weary dreamer, now welcomed into the ranks of the brotherhood of eternal sleep. And so here's to the hope we do not wake. As our salvation obliterates all else, the vacuum of space boiling blood and mind, so goes the barrier between others and self. So breathe deeply and remain supine. There are more forces that you don't understand out there than you can understand. Best to leave the cleaning up to fate. Allow her sponge to expunge and expurgate. Eyes bulge open, thoughts race. The idea occurs. The beard is stroked. Thought dismissed. None of it was real. Or is this? Ponderance pulls at the corners of the mouth as the shades crash open and the world goes south. It hasn't happened once. It transpires continuously. The end recurs endlessly, 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 endlessly. Live to die again. The serpent devouring its tail, gagging on its own hubris, holding up the unsustainable front of indetermination, sweating under the scrutiny, praying its bluff is never called, that its laborious construction of pyramids earns reprieve from those they entomb, that the pharaohs beneath will admire craftsmanship and designate another the sacrifice, that it has been reserved a berth on the mothership, but in a pinch an escape craft would suffice, to oar away from the inevitable flood. From the decks of their yachts the plutocracy chants, Hallelujah! Gazing down through the deep at the claimings of Deluvia. The unpleasantness of truth shan't be tolerated. Search out the scribes and tie them on back the spine of the dragon whose penumbra never lack. Taking death to the air in both concept and respect, consigning the fate of the ground to the contents of their bellies, fire flies forth fumaroling fallacy, cauterizing the wound rent by the blade of hypocrisy. Literal transcript of a game of telephone, chronologically and ideologically displaced. Taking to heart as it was written, script over eons balderized and defaced. With this singular strafe erasing 1,000 years' tyranny, which caused the lambs of God to be led astray by the false prophet dubbed by England King James. Reality, history, morality, and deity. Customized by consensus and consent. The downtrodden foot soldier, the plebeian herd, could never understand the intricacies involved. Great teachings and ideals manipulated for political ends by the filthiest of means. Who does not bend the wills and belief of the meek? Who offers the true path in exchange for belief? Has there ever been a time in our history the backs of the proletariat haven't been bent for the bourgeoisie? The word of God is out there. It's this translation that lacks. So cast away from yourself these self-aggrandizing sacks. The townsfolk rejoice with wine and song, at last equals one and all. The sun cares not of this, licks its lips, rubs its hands, checks its watch and nods. Hydrogen is but irony's disguise. Ra puffs his chest out, shows the people's revolution how insignificant truly is their historic contribution. Forgetting that when you depose an oppressor, there's always a new tyrant to take over. And thus spake Saul unto his children. Supernova. The dragon flies behind the sun, taking credit for what's been done. Open mouth, insert gun. Not but the waste of a bullet. The trigger disintegrates before it is pulled. Radio waves permeate the dead, giving them temporary technological vitality, only to leave them fleetingly in rush, hastened by technocracy's amphetamine smile. Lunacy burns the chromium faceplate. Away from the flesh goes the bandage of old. Hard is the road the living must face. Clambering through the pile of ash, the metallic base ticks away to 0. As focus swings back to the dust-covered sunset, nothing corrodes the pattern beyond recognition. Common sense stabs hard on down the line, gutting the free in the home of the brave. Home is where the heart spasms vivisected, cast downward the rope ladder intestinal, flies akin to scavenging personified. The killing whore reincarnates and licks her lips. Ravenously the raveness begs for a kiss. Things quicken and die slowly. Decay sets in as rot invades. Love once pure, now perverted to sadness. Ineptitude breeds endless hate. Cliché and nicety drive all to madness. The winged schemer departs with tales to tell, trailing scrolls inked with speciousness, needlessly bloating the lists of the dead. Hello, Orsino, my cousin long lost. I see you've been damned for quite a spell. Scars still fresh on your heart from fate's scratching. Bandages bled through, littering the floor of your cage. Oh, I meant not to offend, but you've trapped yourself here. The past that you long for is as dead as the earth you sing song for. If music be the fruit of love, then play on, play on. A song in a key 57 octaves below middle C. My advice for those who can't let go of the one who got away? Forget they ever were. Then think of what could be. Wallowing in misery and dressing in black never brought anybody back. After such a mauling, your soul deserves egress, transcendence from the trappings of hungover regrets. Alas, the fool hears not a syllable, orally transfixed by the dirges he commands. So I leave him to the folly of moping, and descend the eternal steps of unfeeling. After investing so much time and effort into the human race, I see my venture capital better spent on self and self alone. Who am I, if not death itself? Call me an observer. The one who writes the words on this page, who speaks these words into the microphone. A critical discerner, neither a god nor a spirit, merely an independent set of eyes, conscripted to account for all sides. The rending of the infinite continues as the audience pans their gaze to a man-shaped figure pulling itself back to consciousness. Or so they perceive. Man is just easier for them to understand. Anyway, gaping incredulously at his surroundings, a ruined metropolis covered in ash. A sepulchre forms under chisel's implore, lamenting regrettable decisions of a past life. Glowering back lies this raw metaphor, turning the skin a pale shade of white, frozen from the inside. Raucous balderdash wafts into auditory sensors, met with apathy-clasped ears, the greatest censors. The man keeps walking with his eyes closed, unseeing through the glassless rims adorning, eventually to plunk down, scattering a cloud of death's debris. Sitting unresponsive for 7 hours' time, then drawing crude figures in the dust before him. Flowers and flowers and universals, specifics, what matter they a whit? Polaris sighs and turns away, her heart no longer in it. What point is there to empty the universe, to cleanse a void? To what purpose was she deployed? Is the misery of the living the currency of the gods? Even as a virus, life's temerity is in question. Its presence versus its absence could not possibly justify the massacre she was summoned to deliver. The butchery required of her hands. This was not right. Whole galaxies bent and broken, and for what? To satisfy a fleeting whim? To avenge some small slight? To purify all sin? The ratio of living matter to naught in the universe unveils the god's ridiculousness. So Polaris cloaks herself and abdicates, inconspicuous. Godspeed, kindred soul. In the absolute zero of the vacuum, meaning becomes lost upon the scribes, fueled in their task by a pocket of brimstone, stoked with the kindling of their pens and souls. The quill catches fire as it yearns for more ink, reminding that a martyr was made but only to a few. To the rest it was made an example. But another chapter, some other story. Propaganda shines the light of death and glory in the eyes of those who are already blind. Parchment parts to show before the winged beast, the Lady of Green devoid of surcease. The dragon, predictable with fire, merely bores this new rogue. She tears through the distance between so that she may tear the wings from this dreadnought. Panicked, the lizard throws the scribes from its back, purchasing a scant half a second of continued life, and earning so much more penalty to follow its death. Nihility robbed its deathly echo. Her fists refuse to unclench. Years disintegrate in the clutches of her gloves as they continue to wrench. Polaris's eyes open and turn toward... They've turned toward me. I'm all she can see.
I can put an end to your longing with just one kiss.
How could I ever possibly resist? My smile and her tongue both cross my lips, and on my last breath, the riddle is solved. The question, however, is another matter altogether.